Today's video is sponsored by ExpressVPN, but more about them later. Hi everybody and welcome to the deep dive. In today's video we're going to look at what you need as a beginner diver and what's good or best for you to invest in and why, most importantly. As with most hobbies, you can go nuts and you can buy all of the gear when you first start out if you want to, but you don't really need to. I mean, I read the results from a survey a few years back and apparently 1% of instructors who asked didn't even own their own mask, which was a bit of a shock to me, and I presume there was a 1% discrepancy in their results because I struggle to believe that there are any instructors out there that don't have their own mask. But when you first start out, you usually hire most of the gear. In a lot of entry-level courses, the equipment hire is usually included because you're not expected to own all of your own gear at that point. However, the school equipment isn't going to be fancy, so if it's uncomfortable, then don't worry, that's not what all scuba diving gear is. When you get your own gear, it's going to be much more comfortable. But what's best to invest in and what's best to leave until a little bit later on? The first thing on most scuba divers' shopping list is going to be your dive mask. A dive on a great mask is worlds apart from diving with a poor mask. On a perfect dive, you won't even notice the fact that you're wearing your mask, and that's how you know that you have the right one. It will fit comfortably on your face without having to clamp it on and ratchet it down like you're trying to fix a leaky pipe, and you won't even notice the sides when you're looking around. If you're going to invest in any scuba gear, your mask is going to be the first thing. The main reason is that it's touching your face. Rental masks were always a little bit nasty even before 2020, so having your own mask is definitely worth it. How you find a good mask today is a little bit different from previously. It used to be that you just need to go to your local dive center and just try on every mask for fit. But today, with mask skirt designs and materials, it's actually very, very easy to just pick up any mask, stick it to your face, and it'll fit. Your mask is something that you should spend some time selecting and look around at the features available. Don't just look at the color and choose it based on that or rule it out because of the color, because most masks come in a whole different range of colors now. And with the clever materials and mask skirt designs, most masks will fit most faces nowadays, and a lot of them come in different sizes, so it's very easy to buy masks online. Rental fins are fine, but they're just that. They're fine, and not like fine dining or anything. They do the job. But when you find a good pair of fins that match your style, you'll just use them forever. But it is important that you get a pair of boots at the same time, or at least first before your fins. Your fins need to match the boots that you're wearing. So I have two pairs of boots, my 5mm wetsuit boots and my dry suit boots. My actual feet, they don't change size, but my dry suit boots are much bigger than my wetsuit boots, so I can't use the same fins for the both of them. When you're first starting out, I'd recommend that you go for a good pair of 5 or 6mm wetsuit boots when you start out, and a good pair of fins to match those. You can wear 5mm boots both in really warm tropical climates and in colder waters as well. They're a great all-rounder for starting out. If you know that you're never ever gonna do cold water ever, then slippers like 3mm slippers are definitely an option for you, even full foot fins. But otherwise, you will get a lot of use out of a pair of good 5mm boots. If you are going to be dry suit diving in your future, then just wait a little bit until you sort of progress down your scuba diving career, because you often have to go up at least one size for dry suit boots, so you don't want to buy a pair of fins that aren't going to fit you later down the road. A good dive computer has quickly rocketed to your essentials list because the technology has become smarter and much more affordable in recent years. Your dive computer is there for your safety, and they take out a lot of the complicated dive planning and recording, but they also let you dive longer as well. Unlike static dive tables, your dive computer knows exactly how deep you are and exactly how long you were there, so it's constantly working out and remembering how long you can stay at a given depth, and if you're about to do something wrong or if you've done something wrong, then they'll tell you and suggest that you do something differently. Now, for entry-level divers, you can almost choose any modern dive computer because they're all going to have the features that you're going to need for recreational diving. They're all going to display your current depth. They're all going to display how long you can stay there and when it's safe to ascend. They'll all run both air and nitrox, and you can choose different nitrox mixes if you go onto nitrox. Everything on top of that is kind of a bonus, really. But what you will be investing in when you do go up through the price categories basically is ease of use and understanding. Budget dive computers, they'll tell you all of that information, but the kind of basic segmented screens, they're not the easiest to read and understand, and with only a single button, it's quite hard to use that computer. Now we have color screen dive computers that color code things and lots of buttons that are much more easy to use. You just have to invest in it. Being safe and secure online is more important than ever, with more and more companies wanting to get a hold of your information and selling it onto the highest bidder. This is where ExpressVPN comes to the rescue. They have over 3,000 servers in 160 different locations spanning over 94 countries, and this list is growing every single day to help protect your online identity. Their VPN works on Macs, Windows, iOS, Android, and even routers as well. ExpressVPN even works with Netflix to help stream your media content. So say you're a massive Office fan and you live in the United States, you can't actually access that show on Netflix. Well, using ExpressVPN, you can connect to the Netflix in the UK, which has The Office, as of recording, so that you can binge watch it for the millionth time. To our viewers, you can get 3 extra months free when you sign up for a 12-month package by clicking the link pinned in the comments. So if you want to stay safe on the internet and watch your favorite streaming shows, then you should consider ExpressVPN. Okay, back to the video. Another up-and-comer that's actually required equipment on a lot of diving boats now, so if you don't have one, you're going to have to rent one when you arrive, is a surface marker buoy. SMBs are a great way to make you stand out on the surface and greatly reduce the chances of being run over by a boat on the surface. If you imagine your little head sticking out of the water on a choppy day, a boat's not going to see that, especially if you're wearing a black neoprene hood. A bright orange sausage sticking straight up out of the water about 1 meter long, that's going to stand out a bit, and a boat's going to see that far more than your little head. So when you start your safety stop, you take out your DSMB. Most diving courses teach you this anyway. You then inflate your DSMB, that shoots up to the surface, and it tells boats in the nearby area where you're going to surface and to stay away. But of course you need to attach a piece of string to it so it doesn't just blow away once it reaches the surface, and most divers today use a spool instead of a full-on big ratchet reel. Spools are much more compact and really easy to use, and the sooner you get used to your own DSMB and spool and how it works, the sooner you can get into the habit of using it properly and better. Personally, I prefer a closed DSMB just because there's absolutely no chance of any of the gas escaping when it actually hits the surface, so it will stay inflated until you physically get to it and deflate it. Things that you can leave a little while are your regulators, BCD, and exposure protection like wetsuits and dry suits. And your snorkel as well, to a certain extent. If you look through photos of qualified divers actually in the water, try and count how many people actually have a snorkel attached to the side of their head. It's a small number. Your regulators, unless you're snorkeling, obviously. Snorkeling, you need a snorkel. Your regulators, it's important that you do invest in your own regulators at some point when you take your diving seriously, but they wouldn't be my very first point of call. You'll get the most amazing feeling when you do buy your first set of regulators, but don't rush into it. There are a lot of ins and outs when it comes to regulators, and it's worth gaining a bit more experience before you buy a set of regulators so that you know what you want and what you need in a set of regs. If you invest in a lightweight set of regulators or fancy titanium regulators, but then decide that you actually really enjoy cold water diving, then you're going to need to buy another set of regulators, because a lot of travel regulators and titanium regulators, they don't work so great in cold water. Your BCD also, is important to decide what kind of diver you're going to be in 6 months, a year or more down the road, so that you don't buy like a heavy clunky BCD only to realize a few months down is that actually this is really hard to travel with. It adds to my baggage allowance and it's huge. And you actually like the idea of wing style BCDs now that you've read a bit more about them online. Exposure protection as well. If you buy an expensive wetsuit for that one dive trip to wherever you're going, but then you never need it again because you only ever dive in like really, really warm water, or you then decide down the road you're actually going to invest in a dry suit, then that wetsuit is just going to sit in a cupboard and get older and older. Personally, I haven't used my 5mm wetsuit in years, because if I'm not in my shorty diving in warm water or a rash vest, then I'm usually in my dry suit, so I don't use my 5mm anymore. As far as how much of those and when you should invest in each piece of equipment, it's very much up to you and your diving and where you are. Personally, I invested in a lot of my own gear early on because I knew I was making a career out of it. And luckily I never had to wear a rental wetsuit, thank goodness. But it was a while before I bought my regulators or my BCD or a decent dive torch. Rental BCDs, they're fine, they do the job. The same with regulators as well, they do the job. It is nicer when you do have your own, but for quite a while you can get away with just using rental stuff. But when you do invest in your own, it's a totally different experience, and it is well worth it if you want to take your diving experience. So let me know if you're looking at any piece of equipment that you're unsure on and you want my opinion. Just let me know down in the comments below and I'll do my best to help you out. If you have any specific questions about a piece of equipment that you want me to elaborate on, then use the hashtag AskMark and I'll talk about it on next week's Friday Q&A. If you want this hoodie, or not this exact hoodie, but a replica, or any other Simply Scuba t-shirts or whatever, then head over to our spring store by clicking on the banner underneath this video on YouTube. Thank you for watching, and of course, safe diving.